focus on WMU program. And I will tell you, but I'm going to introduce my helpers first. This front row are my helpers that have come this morning, and 3 of the 4 are first graders, so they're brand new to our Children in Action group. Ms. Karen Hutto is my biggest helper. Without her, we would all be a big mess. We've got Adrian Fishburne up here, and Michael Bennett, and Benny Lova, and Kaya Giles. So we're glad to have our helpers with us. But the scoop on this WMU, focus on WMU, is not about celebrating WMU. It's about celebrating what God is doing through WMU in our church to reach the world with the good news of Jesus Christ. And WMU mission is empowering churches and believers to participate in the Great Commission. Now, what is the Great Commission? You're all exactly right. It refers to several passages in the Gospel of Matthew, and that's Matthew 28, verses 19 through 20, and it says, "Therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age." It's also found in Acts 1:8. You can see that on our walls over here. And Acts 1:8 says, "You will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you, and ye shall be witnesses unto me both in Jerusalem and in Judea and in Samaria and to the end of the earth." The WMU mandate is making disciples of Jesus who live on mission. And missions, this is the definition of missions. And I want you to listen carefully to this, because we need to be sure we're doing missions and not just good charities. Good charity work is great, but we've got to be sure we're doing missions. Missions is defined as the work of God through His people, the church, by which the gospel of Jesus Christ is extended in word and deed to all the people in the world. So, without the work of God and by the gospel of Jesus Christ, it's not a mission, okay? Mr. Bruce reminded me that he said if we don't share the gospel, all these nice things we do for people, they're just good charities. So, be careful with that. Characteristics now. This is where my little helpers are going to come up. Characteristics instilled through WMU. This is why WMU is important. Number 1. Come on up. Number 1. Number 1 is about missions. And number 2, pray for missions. Very good. Number 3 and 4. Come on up. 3 characteristic is give to missions. And 4, serve in and do missions. 5, support missions. And number 6, the most important one. Who do we tell about? Jesus. Very good. All right, so characteristics of WMU are learn about missions, pray for missions, give to missions, serve in missions, support missions, and tell about Jesus. Very good. All right, and when we say our pledge, we say as a number of children in action, we pray for missions, we give to missions, we learn about missions, and we do missions through the power of Christ. Okay? All right, thank you. Y'all may take a seat. A little history. This is the part if you want to take a nap. it exists to empower churches and believers to participate in the Great Commission. We just talked about that. We exist to equip churches, that's women and men, and girls and boys, and preschoolers, to discover and live out their missions call. We are available to help churches in beginning and strengthening missions discipleship for all ages. The first, and it was called the Central Committee in the South, was the forerunner to the South Carolina WMU, and it was organized at Society Hill in 1875. South Carolina WMU was organized in 1902 in Greenville, South Carolina. Since its inception, the sole purpose of the organization has been missions. Throughout the years, organization names have changed, new ministries have begun, but the missions message has remained the same. Now, I thought I'd give us a little personal information here. Our Women on Mission, and we have a great group. We have, at a max, maybe 12 that have stuck with us. But Ms. Rosetta and I found the minutes to the missions meetings, and the furthest back I could go was October of 1976, but I think it probably goes back further than that. Some of the original members on that list were, and you may know some of these folks, Miss Marie Furtick. Is that your mom, Bruce?
Yeah.
Okay. Miss Mary Joyce Hutto. That's Miss Diane's mom. Miss June Saylor. That's Reb's wife. This was from 1976. Miss Rosetta Staley, and Miss Diana Avenant, and many others that I didn't know. And they had a large group of about 18, and they were called the Providence Baptist Women, and fruit baskets were very popular. They had a lot of those. And they generally met in the members' homes, okay? Apparently at that time, there were mission friends, there were GAs, and there were ACTs. They didn't have CAs, they didn't have a boy and girls group mixed together, okay? Now, if you look on this board over here, this burlap board, you will see some pictures that Ms. Diane shared with me from the GA convention, I think in Louisiana and Texas. Some pictures up there, and you can see some great shots of Miss Betty and Miss Harriet in their younger days. Lots of other people. Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you about 3 things that we've done this year. One is something brand new that you may have never heard of. The other is something we've been doing, but the list has changed. And the last one is something I want to just call to your attention. But Heart for Schools is something that I learned about when I went for some training at Camp Levita. And it's a network of churches serving students and teachers in South Carolina. And you think, wait a minute, you can't have, church in the public schools. But you can. But you've got to be very discreet about it. And we have a partnership with St. Matthew's K-8 and St. Matthew's. And this year we provided teacher support through a very large laundry basket, snack basket in September with little baby cakes and lots of nice things in there, and we did special treat bags at Christmas. And when the schools open back up, if they do, from COVID restrictions, we hope to have reading buddies. But that program has 3 components: teacher support, reading buddies, and then backpack buddies takes food home on the weekends. But another church is already doing that. So Mr. Harry's going to show us a 2-minute video on Heart for Schools.
If your church closed its doors, would your community miss you? Churches who serve their local schools are known, appreciated, and loved by the students and teachers they serve. They're bringing hope and encouragement that impacts lives today and in the future. You can be a vital part of the Heart for Schools network of churches serving students and teachers across the state of South Carolina. While every church and school partnership is different, many churches serve through reading buddies, teacher support, or backpack buddies. Did you know 34% of fourth graders in the state of South Carolina are not reading on grade level? A student not reading on grade level in the third grade is 4 times more likely to drop out of school. And if they live in poverty, they are 8 times more likely to drop out. 1 in 5 children go to school hungry every day in South Carolina and have little or no food on the weekend. 25% of teachers hired for the 2017-2018 school year left their positions during or at the end of the school year and no longer teach in South Carolina schools. Over the pandemic, we saw over 1,000 teachers leave the profession and many others planning not to return. So, what can you do? Schedule a time to meet with a school administrator and ask, how can we help? Listen to the school administrator, mobilize your church, and meet the need. Continue to serve throughout the year. And finally, make sure you connect with Heart for Schools so that you can be added to the network to receive support and resources. As you serve, meet needs, and create relationships, you are changing lives for eternity.
Pamphlets back there on the podium as you leave out. It has the email and the website address for Angela McNeil, who coordinates this program. Something else that we've done for years are the health kits, and there's one of them over here on this table, and that list has changed this year. They added body wash, and you can use body wash or soap, and shampoo. And then you've got your list there for that. And those health kits, if you want to do some of those, they're due May 31st. And they will go to CASA, which is the Battered Woman's Shelter, the Domestic Violence, Samaritan House for the homeless, Hebron Grace, that takes in folks with substance abuse issues, and some others. On the prisoner packets, we've done those for years, and there's one of those over there. And I just want to call to your attention that when you get that list, and that's a Christmas thing we do, follow the list precisely. We got ready to load them up this past December, and there were great big notebooks in there and all kind of things that weren't on the list. So this is really not a time. The South Carolina Department of Corrections wants us to stick to that list. It's not a time to do your own thing. Okay, the AAA that Kim had talked about, the certificate we got for that, and that's a big thing here. So a whole bunch of stuff. But I'm just going to give you a rundown of that, and you probably know what we do in this church. I'm real proud of all we do. And it's not just the Women on Mission group. Church mission, most everything we do is church missions. Church missions, Women on Missions group, the Children in Action group do amazing work. Mission Friends do things. On that report card, you've got 37 actions that must be completed, and we completed 37 out of 69, okay, and we completed 52. So we weren't all the way at the top, but we weren't at the bottom. And at least one activity must be accomplished from each of 3 sections, and those sections are characteristics of a missions disciple that the children just told you about, age level and church-wide groups, and framework and structure. Some things we've done: we observe seasons of prayer for state missions, Jamie Chapman, national missions for Annie Armstrong, and that is coming up March 6th through the 13th, and international missions for Lottie Moon. We've supported the Dad's Pregnancy Center. We sent cookies to the soldiers through the Hugs for Soldiers program. We made Easter baskets for DSS foster children, and we'll do that again this Easter. We did Christmas in August. We went to CA Day at Camp Levita, and some of us went back for summer camp at Camp Levita. We did Children's Missions Day, where we went to the Volunteer Fire Department and had first responders Samaritan House, Shriners Children's Hospital. We supported the cooperative program. We collected for global hunger relief with our little bread banks. And we did prisoner packets. We did mental health kits. We did Christmas backpacks. And we actually took those to Oceana and delivered them for Jim and Grace. We did supplies for Grace Home, Keep on Calling Ministries, and the groups we have, which I already mentioned, the church-wide missions, the Women on Mission, Children in Action Mission Friends, and I'm still trying to get an Adults on Mission group started. We kind of got started with that, but didn't really go too far with it. And we have participated in leadership training at the association on state levels. And that state meeting coming up in Goose Creek is for anybody that wants to learn more about missions. And the state meetings are really nice. They're good, they're fun. You just learn a lot of stuff. You meet a lot of great people. And then we have to do something about our most unique mission opportunity. And anybody want to guess what that is? West Virginia. All right, I'm going to give you the TV news report. This is from December 11th, 2020, from Brush Fork, West Virginia. Each year around Christmas time, one South Carolina church caravans all the way to West Virginia to feed those in need. Providence Baptist Church out of Orangeburg, South Carolina, pulled 6 trailer loads of food along with volunteers. But keep in mind, this is the pandemic trip. Each year, the church makes stops through Brush Fork, Oceana, Logan, Pampa, and Isaband to distribute loads of perishable and non-perishable items for families at 10 churches in southern West Virginia. Pastor Lott, the organizer, said he enjoys giving back to the area because he once ministered in Logan, West Virginia. Due to the coronavirus, Lott has found many challenges and has had to decrease his volunteer size, which is normally made up of about 70 people and about 12 trailers. Lott said he is faithful that the act of giving will never go away in the midst of the pandemic. It gets difficult, but you know you can't be afraid to live your life, and you certainly can't be afraid to give to others. Our giving is down, but the blessing is still there, Dr. Lott, pastor of Providence Baptist Church, said. And we completed the food distribution mission on Saturday. I'm not going to give you the rest of the story, how we broke down on the side of the road and we had to call a tow truck and get a rental car, and they gave us a brand new Mustang convertible to finish that trip out. And I won't read all that to you because time is of the essence. Your dates to remember are in the bulletin. And one last thing I want to do, and then I'll turn it over to Bob. I want to pray for our missionaries on their birthdays. Okay? All right, today's Sunday, February 20th. If you will bow your head in prayer, we pray for North American Mission Board from Florida, Uriel Agadula, Andres Diaz, Barbara Stark, from Massachusetts, Joan Scroggins, from New York, Alexander Rivera, from Utah, Lau Fang, from Washington, Hage Avila, from Wyoming, Aaron Bell, from Alberta, Brian D. Olivier, from International Missions, American Peoples, Wendy Metter, and Sonia Peterson, Tibet, Asian Pacific Rim Peoples, Sarah Chavez, and CF, Central Asian Peoples, EACE, MV, Northern African and Middle Eastern Peoples, AE, South Asian Peoples, LV, Sub-Saharan African Peoples, Jim Gardy, MTH, Chaplains and Volunteers, State Convention Missionaries, Retired IMB, Alan Brown, Bob Gellerstedt,